What we've got here is a typical 1970s detached property, lovely matured gardens, but as you can see, the paving's a little bit tired. It just needs refreshing. It just needs bringing back to life. Like anything of this age, you know, we need to rejuvenate it.
Types of products that would suit this particular house style would be a nice, smooth, contemporary looking sandstone in a light colour. So we've decided to go for Marshall's Fairstone Sawn, which is ethically sourced, and Marshallite pitched walling, which will give it a nice, clean, contemporary looking finish.
Well, the next stage we've got to do, we've got to find out what's under here. We've got to look at what the aggregate is underneath, if it's substantial enough to take this paving. So I think we need to get this up and get the lads cracking, and let's get going. Right, so what Matt's going to do now, we need to put in a footing for the wall that's going up. And Matt's going to dig down to around 75 mil to put a concrete footing in, which will then put the base for the wall to go on. And of course then it starts building. So this is going to come out now, and then we'll introduce the concrete into the footing.
So Trev, we've got the paving up and away. What exactly are we dealing with? What's underneath?
Well, as you can see, anything with that's been down a long time, as you can see here, it's just sand. That is not good enough for what we want to do. For a proper job, we need to put a good base down, and a good base consists of this aggregate. Yeah. And it's like it's an aggregate that go down. We put it down, we level it out, and then we vibrate it down. It gives a good substantial base for the paving to sit on, therefore giving it longevity, which is what we want. A proper job.
Good. Well, let's get cracking.
This is an MOT type 1. This is like a base aggregate. It gives a nice firm footing for everything to lay on top of. This is very important because this is where we strike our levels from to get water away from the top surface. So what we do, the lads will actually rake all this off. It will come back and give us a strike level. They'll get spirit levels, they'll get some string lines, and what we need to do is, with this, is to know where the water's going. If you think that a lot of patios that are built in the country, they go up against the house wall. So when you go up against the house wall, what you've got to do, you've got to be absolutely sure that you don't encroach on the damp-proof course, which is normally called the DPC. And you've got to stay roughly about 2 bricks below that to stop any damp rising through the brickwork. And that's about 150 millimetres. Right, as you can see, all the hardcore's been spread out. What we're doing now is trying to achieve the levels to make sure that no standing water stays on the top of the paving surface. Matt is laying out a string line, and the idea for the string line is so that you get the spirit level like he's got there, and he's going to put it against the string line to make sure the water is falling in the correct way. On this application, we're going to actually put the water into the borders, into the flower bed, and into a gravel strip that we've got down there. So once these levels are checked, the base will then be whacked with a vibrating plate, which you can get from any tool hire shop, and then on top of that then you get the gravel strips put in, which will take the water away once the final paving surface is finished. Right, it's positively tropical on site now, so Matt is going to use the whacker plate. You can get these from any hire shops, tool hire shops. One thing about them is they are noisy, so the thing to do is get some ear defenders with them and use it. So Matt will start the whacker plate up now and do a couple of passes over, and job done. We've done the footing, we've dug it out, the trench is ready to accept the concrete. Then you're going to put the water into the mixer. People do this differently, but we like the water first. So as you see, water going in. We've got some water into the mixer. We're going to now measure this. We actually get a correct gauge. It's 5:1, so we've got 5 ballast, which is ready mixed, and then we've got 1 cement. Now Mez is going to put the cement in and start the mixer rolling. As you can see, the cement's going in. You get a good mix then when it's just keep it churning over, and then we're going to put the ballast in on top of that. 5 buckets of of the ballast is going to go in with one of the cement. Once that's mixed up, we'll let it turn over, let it turn round, and then put it onto the footing bed. Right, so the mixed ballast is now going to go into the trench. Matt's going to level it out. It's important that the footing is actually is level to take the wall. If it's not level, you're going to have a wonky wall, which we don't want. As you can see, the mix itself is semi-dry, which is what we want. We don't want it slopping around all over the place, because it's a fact that cement, the wetter it is, the weaker it is. As you can see, Matt now is tamping down with a spirit level to make sure that the footing is completely level, ready to accept the wall. And once that's done, we'll just leave that. We'll leave that 24 hours for it to cure off, and then we'll be able to build on it. Make sure when you're doing the walling, you use building sand. So Mez is now going to get the mix on. The correct mix for a wall is 5 to 1, so that's 5 building sand to 1 cement. So Mez, if you'd like to crack on with that, we'll get some of the wall put in. As you can see, Matt is introducing the bricks onto the footing that we did earlier. That's now gone off. If you see where he's laying the bricks onto the bed, he's taking the top of the brick to the top of the line. That is what actually gives you your levels. In that incorporation of the brick, he's putting in a 10 to 12 mil joint, and he's going to incorporate that all the way through. So that way, from left to right, you're going to get it completely level all the way along without having to do a spirit level tap on every brick. String line is really important that you work to. Tap them down onto the mortar bed, keep it straight. He's putting a stream of mortar down, which will accept the block onto the top, and then just lining it through. Then he'll bring the block onto it, press it down, give a good compression, and then from there he'll just put a little fillet onto the end of a block, which will then give you your joint at the top. Right, what Matt's going to do now is introduce the coping. He's going to wet the back of it. The reason for that is, what we don't want is the moisture to be drawn out of the mortar and into the stone, so it will stay solid and keen to the wall. There you go, introducing it onto the wall. Now going to tap it down, and what he'll do then is just make sure that everything's level on top. So he'll get his spirit level, run it across the top of the wall, make sure everything is level from far right to far left. Job done, looks beautiful. Once Matt's put the wall up, you see the joints, then what you'd normally do is strike that off with a jointing iron. Now this is a jointer we're going to use, and depending on the weather, we touch the point just to see that it's just got a bit of resistance, not too wet, just nice and dry, and then Matt will now point it in. The reason this gives a nice finish to the wall, and it also gives a nice recessed joint, which shows the wall into its best. The walling's been done, we're now doing the paving. The mix for the paving is 3 to 1 of sharp sand. Important again, the way you can tell the difference is, in the mix there's grit in it, in building sand there's no grit in it. So what Mez is going to do, the mix for the bottom of the mortar to take the paving is 3 to 1. So as you can see, we've got 3 gauged buckets ready to go into the mix, 1 cement. So Mez, if you want to crack on, we'll get on with the paving. As you can see, we're now ready to introduce the paving. We've got the levels set up. As you see, the string line from there will determine our finished paving level. So Matt, when he lays his paving, it will go onto a 30 mil mortar bed, which is a 3 to 1 sharp sand and 1 cement. Matt will start laying the paving now, because we're squaring off the back wall, which is squared off the house, so that will make it aesthetically good. So as you can see, Matt will lay a bed down. You want to be 30, 35, 40 mil. It's just dependent on what levels you're getting here. It's a full mortar bed, really important. We like to say, if you want to do it properly, the 5-spot bed is acceptable, but we like a full mortar bed. The reason for that, it stops rats runs, it stops ants starting to burrow, so it's just best practice. Another bit of best practice is, if you wet the back of the flag, because it's natural product and it's natural sandstone, you get the absorption through the cement mix. It draws into the flag and dries out the mix too much. So just wetting the back of the flag just gets you that nice contact between your bed and your flag. Matt's got a rubber mallet. This is tapped down to find the levels. Once the level is achieved with the string line, he then moves on to the next flag. He'll also use his spirit level to find out the levels that are falling the right way. You've got longitudinally, you've got 1 in 80, and cross falls are 1 in 40. That's what we're trying to achieve here to get the water away. As you see, Matt's now going to introduce the second flag. Really important point here is that we're going to leave a 10 mil joint between the flags. Now that gap's important because we're going to use weather point on this with our new, which is our new pointing compound. Now it's important that we have a 10mm joint and the full depth of the flag so that cures off well. So Matt will go along with the 10mm pointer there, and that'll give you the 10mm gap that we need. Again, striking levels ready to get the water away using the spirit level and the lines that we've already got in place.
Right, whilst the guys are finishing off the project in the background, I thought it's a good time to actually talk about the paving. We're using Marshall's Fairstone Sawn, which is an Indian sandstone, incredibly hard-wearing product. It's incredibly smooth, so it lends itself fantastically for patio furniture. You don't get any undulations in there. It's also quite a nice contemporary-looking product as well. So you can see with the product that we've chosen, it's a very consistent thickness of 22mm. A lot of the sandstones out there aren't calibrated on the bottom, and what that actually means is there's a varying thickness, not only in the slab, but in all the different slabs. With this particular method, or with the saw method that they're using to make this product, it gets a very uniform thickness across all of the slabs, and that's incredibly important for these guys when they're laying the product.
What sort of steps are we actually doing here, Chris? Because these are new, are they not?
They are. They're a new product for us over the last year or so. They are called Fairstone Sawn steps. They're made out of exactly the same stone as the paving, and they're hand finished and bull nosed. As you know, Trev, it's these ideal finishing touches that make a job, and it's the Fairstone steps as well as the aggregate that we're going to put down around the edges that really make these jobs. So we've talked about traditional pointing methods taking Matt half a day to do. How long would weather point take to do if it was just Matt on his own?
20 metres, I would expect this to be finished in under an hour. So as you can see, he's actually spraying down now. Copious amounts of water, it doesn't matter, saturate the area. It's fundamentally important that you do that. Well, what Matt's done is brushed all the compound into the joints. He's done that, then he's brushed it back into a pile, and now what he's taking, he's striking it in. This is forcing it into the joint to give it integrity, to give it strength.
Right, Trev, that's the weather pointing done. How long did that take?
Well, I said an hour. It's taken 51 minutes exactly. So that shows you the speed of this process and the product. It does what it says. Speed, time saving, great benefit. It is as good as that.
Excellent job. Cheers.
Great stuff.